Well, good evening, and once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to He Said, a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. I'm your host, Alvin King, and tonight we're back again to get newsy with you guys. Hopefully, everybody has had a very good week. To be honest, mine has been extremely stressful, but I'm happy to be with you guys tonight. But first, let's talk about the heat relief, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, earlier this week, you could fry an egg on your front porch, but today we got some much needed, cooling off right here in Washington, D.C. And, I was ready for it. And if you're wondering, I'm definitely dressed for the weather today, because the DC Council voted 9-3 to advance the RFK redevelopment project in its first of two votes on a deal that would bring the Washington Commanders back to the district. The $3.7 billion RFK development project will be put to a final vote in upcoming September. I am a huge Commanders fan, and I'm all ready for it. I'm sure you guys should know this, but the Orange Man has been spreading rumors that Beyoncé received $11 million from VP Kamala Harris, of which there is no basis or no evidence to support any of those claims. Federal campaign records shows that Harris's campaign paid Beyoncé production company about $165,000 that was, part of the campaign event production expense. Harris campaign spokesperson said that that they don't usually pay for celebrity endorsements, but they were required by law to cover costs connected to their event appearances. The White House has yet to provide any evidence of Trump's $11 million payment claim. When the president referred to the alleged 8-figure payment last year, Trump said simply, somebody just showed me something. They gave her $11 million. He is such not a smart person. But at any rate, if I can put a little pun in here, in behind all that, Beyoncé concluded her Cowboy Carter tour on July the 26th in Las Vegas with a spectacular finale. The tour, which grossed $500 million and sold 1.6 million tickets, was the biggest country tour in box score history, according to Billboard. The final show featured surprise appearances by Kelly Rowland and Michelle Williams, marking the first time together on stage since Coachella in 2018. Other notable guests included Jay-Z, her husband, Shabuzi, and Beyonce's daughters, Blue Ivy and Rumi. But the main story that I wanted to open up here with, ladies and gentlemen, that I got this week is that Jay-Z and Beyonce has their daughter overseeing a $50 million charity fund that they are dedicating to her. And fans everywhere are both emotional and inspired by the trust symbolism and future focus intention behind it. Blue will open the parks in Houston and work alongside a team of designers, youth advocates, and local planners to ensure the parks are not just beautiful, but meaningful, with features shaped by children's voices and their needs. It's a bold move for a 13-year-old, of course, which I think, you talk about legacy, it doesn't get any better than this, but it's also thoughtful and strategic. It includes 7 large parks throughout Houston's underserved neighborhoods, featuring inclusive playgrounds for all abilities, community gardens, educational zones, outdoor art installations curated by local kids, and shaded seating areas for families and caregivers, and live performances, of course, by youth talent. All of this is starting now to late 2025, and the first 2 parks will open in the summer of 2026. I thought that was like, I don't know, first of all, we've all seen Blue Ivy grow up, on stage in the last couple of years. But the message that Beyonce, I think, and Jay-Z are sending is that, hey, you gotta, it's not just being up here on the stage, you have to account for something. And that's a clear message that I receive, and I'm all here for it. So again, welcome to our show tonight. As I told you, we are going to get newsy with all of you, and trust me, we have some news for you. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat. Gentlemen.
Buenas tardes.
Uh-oh.
Going on.
Uh-oh. Let me file my nails for a minute.
One of us is not in the District of Columbia, clearly.
Estoy es Medellín.
Whatever.
Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing? How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm relaxed.
Okay.
And I do, and Alvin, I do owe you an apology, Bobby, owe you an apology, because I was so relaxed, I just kind of lost track of time. So my deepest apologies to my dear brothers. It won't happen again. I was just too relaxed.
Okay, see, I wasn't gonna open the window, but what I'm gonna do is say hi to the viewers. Hi, Rose. Hi, Adrian. Thank you for joining us tonight. Robert, thank you for being here tonight. Michelle Sims, thank you for being here. Thank you, Dr. Rashawn Broadnax. Thank you for being here, my brother. Thank you for being here. Now, all of you who are on here who just heard that. He said that he lost track of time for a show that he knew he had to do. Okay, so some of you all who know me know how I act, right? So I'm looking at him side-eyed like, okay. But in any event,
but he's here. We're ready to go.
We are glad that you are here. Diana, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here. And Dr. Toole, thank you for being here tonight again. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello,
well,
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Huh?
I was just saying thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, Bobby and Sean and I thought about it this week, and there's something that we want to, we like to engage you guys. So we're going to open our chat with this tonight. We are talking about something that many of us have felt or witnessed the growing tension in the air. So whether you are in a grocery store, pumping gas, in traffic, or going to work, it feels like people are just on edge. People are angry. There is weight and energy that seems angry, short-tempered, and even hostile. Mm-hmm. But before we get into this conversation, we are not therapists. We are not psychiatrists or mental health specialists. But we are regular folks, dudes dealing with regular, you almost made me curse, regular stuff. Just like y'all. Just like y'all.
And we got thoughts and opinions.
And real experience.
He said.
I was going to say, come on, Sean.
Come on, Sean. I know you relaxing and stuff. Y'all can make me curse tonight. Folks, really pushing the envelope. But look, Sean and Bobby, I want to have an icebreaker with you guys, and viewers, you all can come in here, and chime in as well. For those of you who are just tuning in, we are talking about all this anger that's out here in the air. So why is so much anger in the air, Bobby and Sean? Just briefly, if you could give your opinion on that. And what can we do to unpack some of that tension?
Well, there are a couple of things that I think are certainly out there. Well, certainly when we think about, the impact of the news, our current cultural existence politically is very divisive and stressful. And every time you turn on the news, you're hearing something. So I certainly know that for many people, that's been a source of anger and frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought a lot about this, and I don't really have an answer, but just from watching a lot of things on social media and from being out and about, my job is to be out in the field. I think people really can't communicate what they're truly feeling, and they're frustrated, and that is creating anger within them, and they're projecting that onto other people.
I also think there's some stress related still to like kind of residuals from the pandemic as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you all might not think that, but for those of us who go to work or have to every now and then have to go into the office, you know, some of my frustration is, you know, I can't deal with the Karens in my office. I can't deal with them in the way I want to. And, you know, that leaves tension in me. I have to wait until I leave. And after I wait, it's usually gone. But I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes in office environments, you have these people that go from the streets into the office. Yeah. And it's really, I'm not talking about anybody in my immediate office if you all watching it. I'm just talking about Karens in the building. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's so frustrating to have to deal with them right now. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, first of all, hey George, and hey Sean, and Blue said lower your
cholesterol, I think.
Your cholesterol levels with exercise and meditation. Okay, Dr. Blue, thank you so much for that. Yeah, we really appreciate that. But you guys, I know there are some talking points in doing some research on this, and we have 6 of them. So and viewers, feel free to chime in. But one of the number one, they say, number one reason why people are feeling anger or tense or stress is because it's the post-pandemic stress. And some of that is still lingering trauma from what we experienced 4 or 5 years ago. How you guys believe that to be true, or you know what?
I do. I do think it's true. Oh, there's feedbacks coming from somewhere. Yes, I agree with that statement completely.
I certainly see it, you know, from the perspective of an educator, that, you know, the residuals of the pandemic are still very real. I mean, people kind of lost track of social maturity growth around a variety of things, and people began to change the way they communicated and engaged with one another. So I certainly think that there's some truth to that.
Yeah, for me, I think that post-pandemic stress is real. I think people are, you know, still trying to recover in the midst of now dealing with an administration that is trying to take some of the prevention from what we were dealing with, you know, 4 years ago. They're talking about taking that away, and that definitely is causing stress to me. So I feel that was a good point that was brought up. The next one was the cost of living and inflation. You know, groceries and rent and gas, and I have a personal feeling on that because of what this administration is doing with taking people's jobs. For the most part, and how some people are having to change their lives because of the cost of living and inflation of what they were used to before all of this happened.
I think that one is one that strikes an accord with me, probably more than anything, because you know, as a homeowner, you know, you invest in your home, and I've seen things go up. You know, this past winter, my gas bill was like, man, it was like $200, $250, and I had never seen that before in past years. And so, and then I got a new vehicle. I went from a Volvo XC60 to XC90, and State Farm doubled my insurance because they said that these new cars have sensors on them. So I'm like, what the hell? So it's real.
Yeah. There's no question. I mean, the cost of everything has gone up, and, you know, and that impacts us on a very real level. Our ability, you know, I saw that Michi was talking about the importance of self-care and finding those opportunities, but it can be very expensive, even engaging in some of those things, whether it's travel or, you know, just treating yourself. You know, I'm a person who loves a really, really good massage, and I'm just telling you, like, I certainly don't do it as often as I once did because of the cost of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a way to remedy that, but I can talk to you offline about that. Dr. Toole says
you are not alone. A lot of my friends are giving me all kinds of suggestions other than getting a massage. So.
Dr. Toole said, I don't think we have seen or we have been allowed to process how many millions we lost to the pandemic. Great point. We were just supposed to pick up and act as if nothing happened. And yes, now science and health is being attacked. Amen. Great point. And Michelle Sims says anger is normal. Come on, we get into that. Healthy response to a threat. Yeah. We as a nation are definitely under constant threat. Thanks, Michelle.
I just want to say we've got an audience of thinkers. I love that.
Oh yeah. Well, we always do, but sometimes they just be sitting back and waiting for us. Like, when are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? And Bobby, you brought this next point up about political division and constant media negativity. I'm just going to say amen to that.
Yes.
Well, it's hard out here because, I think that there was a time I grew up always having people who thought different from me politically. We disagreed on policies and practices and, final outcomes around things. But I never felt that we were kind of like morally different, like in terms of character. And I just feel like there's been this great divide that has impacted more than just policy making, but how a person's character really plays itself out. And it's difficult.
Bobby, you know what? It's very difficult. I'm a journalist. I started my first career in journalism. I worked for newspapers from down south to here in DC, covering Congress and all that. I saw the change. I was a part of the change, and I was disheartened by the change in the media because it was very negative. And I was a features writer for the most part until I came to DC. And getting to DC, it was just negative, and it was just cutthroat, and it was just not good. And now, when I think about when I was covering Congress, when Newt Gingrich and Trent Lott was in Congress, and compared to now, I was like, man, I would take Trent Lott back. I hate to say that, and I didn't like the man back then.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And very divisive.
Very divisive.
Well, 25 years of my life was at USA Today and Gannett. And those were beautiful times. For some reason, I don't remember any of the type of divisiveness that I hear in the media now when I worked at that company for 25 years. And so there has been a definite shift in how the media covers news, and it is very stressful, and it can make you angry. Some news stations I don't even listen to anymore. So I think that is a huge reason why some of us are walking around here pissed off most of the time. Another form of media is social media culture and how that has completely, outraged, or people feel like they can say what they want or get their anger across on social media. What's your thoughts on that?
Let me speak of this because when I was covering the FCC, I was covering it in a time when we were talking about net neutrality. And when newspapers were going online and broadcasters, and I remember writing back then that there should not be an availability for people to go online and write anonymous comments. I said, you need to get rid of that tool, and you got to put your name behind your statements. I think that failing has given people cover to say whatever they want to say online. And now we're at a place where, okay, they can throw a punch but hide, and they say some most incredibly angry, disrespectful, racist things now because they have behind that anonymity that should have been taken away 20 years ago, thanks to Michael Powell, Colin Powell's son. He did this.
Okay.
I personally just have always been amazed at people's freedom to just be as mean as they can be on social media, like zero level of a filter, and just critiquing people's bodies, their physical, any of their physical features. People who sometimes perform various talents. I like people feel very, very comfortable being very, as Sean was saying, the anonymity allows them to have a level of just mean spiritedness that I just like. I wouldn't want people to see me write some of the things that people put on there. And it's just, I think it's, and it impacts particularly young people really profoundly.
Well, you know what, I have to agree with you about the young people, but there's some old heads who have now gotten used to using social media, and they just don't know how. They have no social media etiquette, and they get on here and they fight with their friends, their family, and say things that's really public. And I know that there has to be some place out there. Maybe I can start at a social media etiquette class or something, because it's definitely something that needs to be had.
Yeah.
It's very stressful. And then there's a workplace burnout and loss of work, which attributes to life balance. I just don't think a lot of people know how to get there. I just think that's one of those things that if you don't know, you can't do it.
That's why I'm in Medellin, Colombia.
So,
No, that's why you're there.
is that why? Oh, okay.
Thanks for clearing that up for us.
Newsflash. Okay.
But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, that work-life balance, I think, has, as we spoke a little bit earlier about residuals of the pandemic and so forth, in my mind, that's still related to the pandemic in some ways, because once we were able to work remotely, for instance, some of the boundaries that jobs had around, well, I'm not going to bother them. You know, they're at home. That's pretty much gone. Like, people feel that they can engage you 24 hours, 7 days a week.
And that's absolutely not for me.
Yeah, even in the government, they want more and more out of their employees.
Well,
Yeah.
Right. Well, Michelle, first of all, Michelle Bowie says she agrees with Dr. Toole. Yes, the level of ignorance that is making decisions regarding our health is beyond stressful. Aral Health has so graciously joined us tonight. Thank you, Aral. Greetings to you. He said, I agree with Sean. This is a media problem that did not just start. It has been building to what it is today. The National Inquiry, live or live? Okay. Live. And Michelle Bowie, she said, when you have an administration that thrives on lies, inhumanity, and hate, the rest of the world, especially on social media, feels like they can say whatever they want to. Amen, amen, amen.
Yes, Meech. Yes, Meech.
And our last point to round it out before we get you viewers to start typing more information in here, it is, mental health access and stigma, and especially in the Black community. And I'm going to go back to people don't know what they don't know, number one. And then it's that whole, a lot of Black people say, there's nothing wrong with me. I don't need nobody to tell me what to do. And those are the main ones who need somebody to tell them what to do. When you hear them say that is a tell-all sign. But no, I think therapy is good. I advocate for it. And, look at me.
Yeah, my therapist has told me on more than one occasion, he said, the people that need therapy will not come.
Exactly. You think that's out of fear or just out of, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for?
No, I think it's more people are afraid to address what's really going on inside of them. It's maybe it's a fear or a stigma, but I think people don't want to be outed, if you will.
There's more that you can be outed for. Therapy ain't one of them. But what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, real quick before we end this segment, we want to engage you guys, and we have a couple of questions that we want to ask each other, and you all feel free to chime in, please.
I'm sorry, my water went down the wrong way. I'm sorry.
You okay?
I'm good.
You okay?
Oh, I was like, oh Lord, this is going to happen on air here. No. My apologies. Well, one of the things I wanted us to think about is the way that people respond to one another when they're engaging one another. And so my question for you is, I think when I see people engaging sometimes, the response is so quick and made with a whole lot of assumptions, et cetera, et cetera. So my question to you guys is, do you think people have lost the capacity to just slow down and pause just a second before they respond to people? Like, where's our capacity to process before we pounce?
Ooh. Ooh, I think that's a real question, because a lot of times people aren't listening when they're talking to you. They're processing how to react.
Or actually, Alvin, I think they're not processing. They're just being animalistic and just reacting.
Oh,
Wow.
oh.
Well, we often talk to the kids about, when people are speaking to you, and I would say even some of my peers, how often do we listen to respond as opposed to listen to understand when we're having conversations and debating with one another? Some people never listen to you to understand or gain a more broad perspective on something. Their only reason of listening to you is so they can come back with a rebuttal.
We call them selfish, but we do. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah.
No, Bobby's correct, and I think you're correct as well. And that kind of goes to what I want to kind of bring to everyone's attention. So everyone, please weigh in on this. So, like I said, we're talking about anger, and it's everywhere it seems. So, how has anger become a new form of communication, especially in public? Everyone wants to bring that phone out and record. So, is anger a new form of communication? I mean, what do you guys think, especially when it comes to being in public?
I think it is, and I'm glad that it happened. But look at the young lady who filmed George Floyd getting murdered. You know what I'm saying? Look at that alone. I know people were using their phone and being public and recording all that before then, I think, but that really brought recording to a different platform.
I think for me, when I think about, is anger a new form of response and so forth, I'm one of these people who has always felt that you kind of carry, like, what you absorb, what you put into your spirit, your energy, your space, often is reflected back out. So I know that I may get some pushback on all this, but it's one of the reasons I don't watch things like The Real Housewives of any, like those types of shows where showing out, flipping tables, cursing out people, all that kind of stuff. And people will watch and go like, oh, I just watch it for entertainment. And I get you. I'm not saying in judgment, but all I'm saying is I believe that what you put into your energy and your spirit and your heart also can come out in the way that if you watch that and you see these people become infamous because of it, what makes you think that it's not cool to just flip a table when you're having an issue with your friends or curse them out and all that? So I feel that it has become a new form, but part of it is because we as a society have accepted it as acceptable ways of engaging with one another.
And Bobby, you're correct. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the media. And because I was watching this old clip of the Jerry Springer show and Sally Jess Raphael, and the dialogue that people use, the anger that people use on shows like Sally Jess Raphael.
And it's cheered on. Like they are like, yes, do it.
Yes. And people, and they were communicating with anger, and people and what they failed to realize was that those folks went home. There's been some incidents where one lady was murdered by her husband on one of these shows because of the anger. And now it's just 10 times that, 100 times that.
Yeah.
This started in the media.
It's called ratings in most cases, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
exactly.
But before we round out this story, because ladies and gentlemen, we are Newsy and we got some news for you all that we're going to get in the next half hour. But Bobby and Sean, do you think people feel powerless and anger is their way of just taking control? Is that a part of all this anger and hostility that we're seeing out here?
I think there's a piece of that and an element about it, because again, when we tie back to some of the things that we've talked about in terms of the divisiveness of the politicians and so forth, one of the ways that I can get away with, if you will, of stuff that's over in this area is if I can get the two of you over here arguing with one another and making you both think that the other is the cause of your issues. I can be doing all kinds of things over here because you're not even paying, like you're so engaged over there. And I think when I look at politics today and I see how divisive it is, making people feel like, well, the immigrants are coming in and taking your jobs and all that, they're drug dealers and they're killers. And I'm like, so what drug dealer is going to come from another country and work at McDonald's?
Well, Alvin, I think people do feel powerless, but What they don't comprehend is that anger is an emotion, and one cannot be in control of anything when they are emotional, especially when that emotion is at a heightened level of anger, and that communication is just not there.
Yep.
You can't. No one's going to hear you when you are angry and trying to communicate, and then you and if you're feeling more powerless. And to your question, Alvin, how are you going to gain control? I'm not one who gets angry at all. For the most part, people have told me for years that, I just don't get angry. I get quiet, which is probably another form of anger, the opposite, if you will. I don't know. Somebody tell me, is that the same thing? Getting quiet is the same as being angry?
Not if you control it. Not if
you control it. Yeah. If you know it, there's an advantage in knowing. And when you know that something is causing a trigger, if you will, then you can better manage it. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, again, thank you all for engaging us in that conversation, because there's some angry people out there. And, I do want to real quick, for those of you who are on here, I'm just going to say that type yes in the comments or chat, if you've had a tense experience recently. Just put yes or no, or if there was a moment that caught you off guard, just say yes or no that made you react in an angry way. And so I'm going to say to close this segment, ladies and gentlemen, it is easy to point fingers, but we are all carrying something, whether, it's about money, stress, health, family, or just trying to stay afloat. There's pressure building under the surface. And I employ people to get some help. I employ people to, work on that, because it's really out there for you to get. And I just think that that's a route to take. So thank you all. Wait a minute. We have a new
folks are chiming in there.
Okay, I know. Thank you all. Thank you. We have a new person, and I want to make sure that I say their names correctly. Wait a minute. Where did he go? Oh, where did he go? Oh, no, that was the raw health. I'm sorry. My eyes failed me. But Dr. Toole said, and anger is a secondary emotion. When we feel sad or vulnerable or helpless, it is easier to get mad than to analyze our hurt. I want to say hello, Eric Shields. Thank you for being here tonight, my brother.
Hey,
Sean said yes, in a blindsided way. Okay, that was him yesterday. Yeah, somebody tried to cover him. Okay. And Michelle Bowie said it is what the administration wants. They want the American people to be angry with each other so that it will be a distraction to what they are really doing, which we talked about last week. And to wrap it up, Raw Health said yes, and I had to realize that my reaction could cost my freedom being taken away. You better go
right there.
Okay, right there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to He Said, and we are about to get Newsy on you guys. It's been, we got some top stories that we want to run by you guys real quick. And so I'm going to let Sean take it away.
Yes. Okay. So this first story is about DC and traffic. So if anyone is aware, that DC is a city that has about 750,000 people. But recently, DC was voted as having the worst traffic in the U.S., surpassing Los Angeles and Atlanta. I think this is true because I'm out there every day. In my vehicle and in a government vehicle, and it's just gotten worse over the last 20 years. Did you guys agree that the traffic is that DC deserves this title as having the worst traffic in the country?
It's tough. There's no question. The amount of construction that's going on all over the city only exacerbates it. It's rough, is what I will say.
I'm gonna agree. DC traffic is a beast. That's my point on that one side.
Although we do want the infrastructure that's taking place, I would say that.
Yes. And there is pain that comes with that process of rebuilding and repaving roads and all of that, but it does come at a cost in terms of congestion and traffic.
Yes.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, sir.
Thank
I
you.
want to take us up to New York to a very serious situation that presented itself earlier this week. And many of you know there was a situation in which a gunman took to a building in New York City and killed several people. And there have been many, many questions about the gunman's mental health. He stormed a Manhattan office tower with a gun, killing 4 people before actually killing himself. And interestingly, he worked in the surveillance department of a Las Vegas casino, and part of a team that's built on watching for threats before they unfold. And here he was, indeed, a threat himself. His name is Shane Tamura, 27. He didn't show up for work, his usual shift at the casino, and instead he got in his car, drove across the country to carry out a mass shooting, targeting the NFL offices in this league headquarters in this building. A 5th person NFL employee was also wounded in Monday's attack. So 4 people were killed and 1 seriously hurt. Now, in terms of his mental health, there were questions about, and there was a suicide note found on him citing that he believed that he had CTE. Now, he did have a certified record of mental illness. There have been several incidents where he'd been called about, people had called in about him. But in his note, he claimed that CTE was an issue. Now, for some of you who may not be aware, CTE is chronic traumatic ecnophobia. I knew I was going to mess up this last word. Ecnophobia. It is a condition that many high-level sports athletes have experienced, and we've seen many NFL professional athletes who have experienced it. And it is a degenerative brain disease linked to the amount of trauma that many NFL players experience. Now, a recent autopsy is going on, and it has not confirmed whether or not he had CTE. Here we have police officer Islam, who is one of the actual victims of this mass shooting. A police officer who actually left multiple children, and a pregnant wife. Was one of the people who was actually taken in this horrible mass shooting, broad daylight in New York City.
That was awful this week.
Yeah, I find it very, very sad because, like Bobby said, this diagnosis is common in those who play professional football, but it's also very common for those that play professional soccer, European football.
Yes, with the intense hitting of the head constantly. Yes,
but tell me, I don't know. I mean, have we seen former soccer players go off and do things that we've seen NFL players do?
Well, that's another story. I am not even going to go down that.
Yeah,
I
don't see it. I'm just putting it out there. Not a response. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to go down because we might be on here till 9 o'clock tonight, going down that one. But but in his case, that's what the prognosis, or they're saying that caused him to do that.
They've not confirmed it yet.
Allegedly.
Well,
thank you. But in the same instance that there was, such a fatal circumstance in this case, my story is also about a fatal circumstance, but justice has prevailed. A former Ohio police officer, Adam Coy, was convicted of murder in the shooting of Andre Hill, a Black man who was holding a cell phone and keys when he was killed, was given a mandatory sentence on Monday of 15 years to life. This former officer shot Hill 4 times in a garage, if you all remember that, in December of 2020, as the country reckoned with a series of police killings of Black men, women, and children. This ex-officer told jurors that he feared for his life because he thought Hill was holding a silver revolver. Coy, who is being treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma, told the court on Monday he plans to appeal the verdict. He says, "I feel my actions were justified. I reacted the same way I had in hundreds of training scenarios. I drew and fired my weapon to stop a threat, protect myself and my partner." Prosecutors said Hill followed police commands and was never a threat to Coy. And police body camera footage has even showed that Hill was coming out of the garage of a friend's house holding up a cell phone in his left hand and his right hand not visible. But seconds before he was fatally shot. And almost 10 minutes passed before the officers at the scene rendered any type of aid after he had been shot. So I'm glad to see justice prevail in this case.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see it prevail. Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cool.
So,
Yes.
Bobby, do you want to say something before going to the next story? Or
No. I'm managing my peace, as we say.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the next story, of course, is regarding the expelled DC council member Treon White. He won his seat back in a special election that took place on July 15th. I think I got it right. So Treon White, as you know, represents Ward 8 in Washington, D.C., a ward that is the home, or was the home, of former D.C. Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. Treon White's win, things are not over yet because the D.C. Council are still looking at ways to remove him after the fact, because he still has to go to trial, even though he did return to the D.C. Council earlier this week and walk the halls and show people where he's going to be. To me, this is Ward 8 is Marion Barry's ward, and his victory by less than 30% of the vote says a whole lot about the folks in that part of the city. But Treon White, he's now no longer expelled, but he still has to he still has some things coming up for his charges.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. I'm going to say, because I'm protecting my peace. Hi, Monica. Hi, Deron. Thank you for being here tonight. JJ, thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate all you guys being here. I'm going to keep smiling because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Treon White.
Yeah.
That is more than I can say on television, but I mean on TV, on this show tonight,
on this platform.
But wasn't he caught making the bribe? They heard it, they recorded it, right?
No, he was offered a bribe, and then he asked if they can do more, and that's what really kind of got him caught. And the thing is that he was caught in the Navy Yard, which is a new part of Ward 8, because initially that Navy Yard was part of Ward 6, and the Navy Yard is heavily Republican when it comes to the residents of the city. And mind you, it was not for.
But are you suggesting that it was? But are you suggesting it was a political?
It was a political move
that made him.
That he happened to ask for more money and they got it. You know that wasn't what. It's all political. Yes, I think so. People have been after Treon White for many years, but they felt understood what it's like in Ward 8 and the residents. And I know he won because I'm in Ward 8 every day, and the young people were wearing T-shirts that said Treon White. Okay, the other candidates that were running against him, they weren't knocking on doors. They weren't going to small businesses asking for their votes. So, but Treon, he is Ward 8. So it was his race to lose, and he won it. Okay, thank you for that. And John Avery said, "I can't believe Ward 8's constant disrespect of themselves. You have to change to make change." Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to take us in a slightly different direction of activism and someone standing up for what they believe is right, in the sense that our artist Amy Sherald, who many of you know, pulled her art from the Smithsonian Gallery after Vice President Vance and the museum tried to alter a particular painting a painting in particular, the Statue of Liberty painting. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But many of you know her because she actually won in 2016 the portrait gallery competition, whereas in 2018, her portrait of former First Lady Michelle Obama was commissioned by the National Portrait Gallery here in DC. And she was very clear in saying that I'm sorry. the exhibit, which was slated to open in September, would have been the largest ever exhibit by Amy Sherald. And it was canceled because she said that the grounds of censorship were very strong, and that the museum expressed concerns over a particular painting, and that's the transforming liberty is the image that we're talking about. And you'll see it's the blue image of the trans woman, kind of mimicking, if you will, was the concern, the Statue of Liberty. She said, I made the decision to withdraw my exhibit, American Sublime, from the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. And she said, as a painter, I believe in a portraiture's power to witness to dignity and to insist on presence, especially for those often deemed invisible. We live in a society with a selective memory, one that frequently overlooks the lives of those in the margin. So she made this decision to remove what would have been her largest exhibit at the portrait gallery. And she said that she's doing this because she believes that she is speaking for those who often are silenced.
Good for her.
Yes,
and make some of the smaller art galleries, maybe this is an opportunity for them to shine a little bit more, because, I applaud what she did.
And we have to keep in mind, this is an artist who obviously rose to extreme popularity as a result of the portrait that she made of former First Lady Michelle Obama. But she's also an artist who received a lot of backlash as a result of that very same fame as well. So she's not unknown in terms of really being able to receive and to respond to some of the pushback. But I agree with you, Alvin. I think she made a very, very strong statement in saying, basically, not today.
And Dr. Toole said that two Smithsonian issued this week, they have been told to take down their portrait, and then a few days later, they removed all information about Trump's impeachments, plural, from the history museum.
Yes, Trump's impeachments. So she wanted to make sure that
impeachment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. That was our top stories that we just wanted to share with you all and get your opinions and whatnot. So we're going to move real quickly to our social and entertainment area, ladies and gentlemen, because there's some crazy stuff going on in the social and entertainment world right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a record-breaking moment also going on. Bubba Wallace, who some of you know, climbed out of his number 23 car on Sunday. He pumped his fist, he found his family, and he celebrated a historic win. He is the first Black driver to win a major race on Indianapolis Motor Speedway's 2.5-mile oval. No Black driver has won the Indianapolis 500 and Formula One race on this track's course. It also snapped his 100-race winless streak. So he was kind of in a dump and came back and then won this race. And so Bubba Wallace setting a record and breaking it as the first Black race car driver to win in the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's track. So kudos to Bubba Wallace.
Kudos, Bubba.
Bubba.
He had a chance to rest. Get it, Bubba.
He got out of the car.
And took out your can of whip arse. And you, come on, Bubba. That's what I'm saying. Sean, you were going to say something?
No, I think it's a great story. I don't want to get too far into the weeds. Because I can remember when I was a journalist, I covered my first NASCAR race, the Darlington Southern 500, which housed about 100,000 people. I may have been maybe like one Black person in that entire thing. So to see a Black man win a NASCAR race after 30 years when I did my first story covering a NASCAR race, I think it's a good thing.
Congratulations, Bubba.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
All right.
And speaking of Black men,
yes, of which we all are.
we are upstanding Black men.
Yes, we are.
But Shannon Sharpe has stumbled in his standing as a Black man.
Oh.
He has been ousted from ESPN after settling a $50 million, allegedly a lawsuit. I don't mean there's been no court filing. He didn't go to court, so it's not proven. There has been no case that says that he actually raped the young woman who he settled the lawsuit with. But that's what led to him being ousted from ESPN.
Wow.
Now, again, it's still an allegation that he did this, but he brought this on himself because Monique warned him about being with young women, especially young women who are
not of his own persuasion,
of different persuasion.
This is a classic case of Black men need to make better choices.
Yeah.
That is.
I wish that I could defend, at least some of these accusations and so forth, but his track record it just doesn't support it. I'll just say that.
Well, we're going to keep it on men, but I'm going to take it in a more seasoned direction.
Okay.
82-year-old billionaire media mogul David Geffen is reportedly heading to court over a split with his 30-year-old partner, David Michaels. Now, while the tabloids are having a field day, this situation raises some real questions about age gap relationships, especially between older and younger men in the LGBTQ plus community. Yes, we're talking about it, and some of you all are judging. But I have a couple of questions for Bobby and Sean and the viewers also regarding this relationship.
Yeah.
Why do you think relationships with large age gaps, particularly between elder established men and younger partners, will carry such social stigma or scrutiny even within our own community? Why do you think that that's an issue? Now remember, we're seasoned. But why do you think that's an issue?
Well, part of it, I think, is that most people associate relationships with love. But I think we also have to be very honest that not everyone engages in relationships with people for love. Some people engage in relationships for purpose and provisions, what's provided. In the case of David Geffen, he is an older, he's billionaire. He's an older billionaire. Okay. So he is well positioned to provide this younger, vibrant, beautiful young man a lifestyle and access to things that he probably would not be able to do. So this young man who wants to live that life also can say, like, well, if I can be with him and he'll provide this for me, he'll take care of me and provide for me. So their relationship is not, and I'm not saying that they aren't in love, but all I'm saying is it seems as though it was set up to be more a relationship of provision. David Geffen got to be with this very young, agile, beautiful young man. This beautiful young man got to live a lifestyle that many of us cannot even imagine as a result of having an older billionaire partner. So I think that's my take on it.
Sean,
what's love got to do with it?
And for some people, it doesn't.
It doesn't have anything to do with it. And you know what? What's for him is for him, and what's for him is for him. Question number 2 I got for you all real quick is, in situations like this, and Raw Health, I know you got something to say. In situations like this, when there's a big difference in power, life experience, and even finances, can a relationship truly be balanced, or is it always transitional on some level? And I think Dr. Toole mentioned that as well. Is it? What do you think on that?
Just transactional, not.
I'm sorry, transactional. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't see how the dynamic shifts. I read bits and pieces of this story. I know it wasn't my story, but I was familiar with bits and pieces of it, and I believe that at one point David Geffen was asking, as young and agile and beautiful as this young man is, that he was even being asked to do some type of cosmetic surgery as well.
Which he did, yes. He said, according to his suit against David Geffen, said that he made him get cosmetic surgery, and also there was no contract or no prenup.
Well,
so not only were you cute, you were a little not connected.
Well, one may say that was not connected, but one questions how David Geffen could be in this relationship with this young man and not have already established some type of prenuptial agreement.
Right. And you know,
pay him.
I say get
him.
paid if you would, because you would need to pay me. Raw Health, what did you have to say about this before we move on to the next story? Raw Health, please. And thank you guys. He said some people are chasing after youth and beauty, especially in certain communities that are prone to do it. Transactional relationships. Amen. Amen.
There they are.
Thank you all. Thank you.
So Sean said pay him. Now, one of the things we've been talking about is kind of like non-traditional relationships, thinking outside of the box and not necessarily being very traditional in certain things. And so this next story kind of taps into that as well, because Tracee Ellis Ross, whom we all know and love, daughter of Diana Ross, rejects the poster child of singledom label that she was recently given. So she is redefining what it means to live as a single childless woman in her 50s through her new Roku series, Solo Traveling with Tracee Ellis Ross. So much of what traveling is about is for me not waiting for something in order to walk towards my life, she said. In order to be in my life, in order to be having wonderful experiences in my life. That is what she said. The solo traveling has provided that for her. She gets to dress up in these wonderful clothes and decide what she wants to do when she's doing. She's had multiple interviews on television shows talking about this. But the issue that raised eyebrows for some people was Oprah Winfrey referred to her as kind of like the poster child of singledom. And she's pushing back on that and saying that, you know, she's an example of what being an unmarried woman could and should look like, is what Oprah was saying. But she said that I'm not that poster child for single. I don't want to be that. She said, I want to be the poster child for being an inhabitant in your own skin. She said she sees her single status as a source of freedom and not one of limitation. She said, yes, I'm a single Black woman who does not have children, but not having a relationship, not having children has allowed me to explore things on my own humanity. And so she said, I'm a chooser. I can choose to get married if I want, but in the meantime, I'm choicefully single, happily, gloriously single. That's what Tracee was.
Amen. I'm with Tracee. We're the same age, and hence
and where are you?
I'm solo in Medellin.
Well, I'm just going to say, you know, on that, I'm sure the way Oprah presented it to her, it was out of affection for her. I don't think it was a critical thing. But then I'm all going to say pot kettle. And then I'm going to move on to this next story that has just really, this is our last story, ladies and gentlemen, in our entertainment. He has slayed the stage, the screen, and every red carpet in between. Now Billy Porter is serving face and product with the launch of Black Mona Lisa Beauty. And it's called Sometimes I Just Want to Wear Makeup, a makeup and skincare brand for beauty explorers. The brand wrote, we're honored to share, you know, our beauty brand launch in Women's Wear Daily. Billy Porter's vision for Black Mona Lisa Beauty celebrates that beauty has no gender. A new era of beauty is about to unfold. And this is Billy Porter's first makeup line. And so first of all, boy, you better go for your hustle. You better go ahead. Hustle, get it.
Well, first of all, I question the verb you use, slay, but another topic. That's
why it's called He Said, He Said, He Said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
True. But had it be Michael B. Jordan, who actually does look good and handsome and fine as hell, or Idris Elba, who actually looks good, handsome and fine as hell, I don't know. The face, I don't believe, again, I'm one who doesn't like makeup, so I don't like wearing it. I don't like feeling it. I don't like seeing it, you know, except for on women. And some women look good with it, and some women look enhanced with it. But I don't know. No.
So would you buy a woman some of Billy Porter's makeup? That is the question, since you don't wear it. Would you support his endeavor?
I don't know, because I don't know enough. I don't know enough about makeup. I mean, if it's good quality, if it's something that she wants, I can't support every Black entrepreneur.
Okay, see that's the route you're gonna take. He said. I got you, Sean. Bobby, anything you want to comment about Billy's makeup launch? Anything you want to say?
I don't have a gender bias in terms of makeup. I don't wear makeup, but I've certainly seen some young men who've mastered it and work it well. I question more just personally. I think Billy Porter's fashion choices do not necessarily lend. I don't see him necessarily as being the face of a makeup line, I guess is what I'm saying. But, like you said, I mean, he's got his hustles going on, and he certainly had some iconic fashion moments. Now that I will give him. But.
And ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our Let's Get Newsy for this. Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Dr. Toole said this show could go on for more than an hour. Believe me, we do work in the confines of our hour, Dr. Toole. Thank you so much for being here tonight. But look, you all definitely have to come back next Friday also, because next week, the amazing Jacob Lusk experience will be here. Jacob Lusk is an American singer from Compton, California, who finished 5th place on the 10th season of American Idol. He is also a member of Gabriel's. I saw him last year as he did a tribute to Elton John. And when I tell you he slayed that, and believe me, Jacob is the real deal. So, and I'm going to say, you all please join us next week. We are so happy that he's going to be here. And before we let you go, we have to give you our words of the week. In the garden of life, let hope be the water that nourishes your dreams, ladies and gentlemen. And, we are sending out love and 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 love to all you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for being here, and especially Sean for taking the time out of his vacation to come and hang out with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Mi amigos.
I want everybody to have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next live episode of He Said.
He said.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.